nightmare. I was like, my God, how do people direct me? 10 years.
10 years.
That in my long life is a short time. For you, it's like half your life.
Yeah. Theater or film?
Do I get paid?
The landscape of Indian storytelling is shifting, and the Reborn India Film Festival aims to be at the center of that evolution. A space where cinema across genres is approached with equal artistic rigor, from the experimental to the commercial. With the support of the NFTC and the Film Critics Guild, these conversations are grounded in both legacy and critical thought. Great actors just don't play characters, they explore the complexity of being human. Our guest today is an artist who has consistently chosen the more challenging path, from the raw, disruptive energy of Dev.D to the psychological depth of Goldfish. And her recent international work in her song, her journey reflects both range and intent. Please welcome Kalki Koechlin. I hope I pronounced your name correctly.
You did, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much, ma'am, for doing this. It's an honor for me to share this space with you.
Thank you.
And the whole motive of doing this conversation is we target the serious filmmaker out there who are passionate about films and in art in general. We are going to discuss films in general, your body of work. So let's start without wasting a single minute.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I would love to start with one of my personal film of yours, that's Margarita with a straw. It's personal because someone from the family have cerebral palsy, and it really affects me, to deal in the society we stay, and it's hard. I just wanted to know your process. It didn't feel like performative. It was real, it was natural. I have watched more than 5 times that film with my parents, with my friends, even alone. And each time I got to explore something different. So I just wanted to know, I've heard that you've trained with cerebral palsy patients as well, and what was the process and how was working with Sonali Bose, ma'am?
So, I think I had incredible access to people because of Shonali. Her cousin has cerebral palsy, and the story is very much inspired from her cousin's life. She's a Malnichev, and she's written a book called One Little Finger, she wrote with the one finger that she didn't type with. And she is her mother is one of the founders of ADAPT, which used to be the Spastic Society of India. It's now been renamed All Disabled Able People Together. So ADAPT is there's one in all the major cities in India, and it has been groundbreaking in terms of visibility for the disabled, because otherwise they were just shut away in their homes, and the parent, usually the mother, has to deal with them alone. And when she became a mother herself, and Dr. Mittal, when she became a mother to a disabled, severely disabled, because Mandi had quite severe cerebral palsy, she realized, my God, there's no support. I need to build this from the ground up. And she went to the government, she went to whoever sponsors, and really built this up. So, I was in ADAPT, I was living there, I was spending time with them, with the physiotherapist, and the speech therapist. So one of the things I remember that really cracked it for me with the speech was when I was watching Malini speak to her speech therapist and her physiotherapist, and they were talking about the breath and how when you have cerebral palsy, you have less muscles everywhere, including your lungs. So you can't take as big a breath. So you have to break your sentence up and take a breath in between your sentences. So this breathing pattern, which is so different from how a person with functional lungs would breathe, really made a difference to how Laila as a character spoke. Same thing with the tongue. Tongue is a muscle. Now, if that tongue has a dead weight on it and it can't move so much, how do you speak? So these are things which, just being around people who had disabilities, I was able to really spend time understanding. And Shonali also was a very demanding director. She was like, don't do anything else for 6 months. You're only going to be in this character. So, she really put that process, she gave the time for that process to happen. be possible. Most directors have to just jump right
Yeah.
into shoot, and you get a maximum of 1 or 2 weeks of, rehearsals, but this was really exceptional.
So this was like you trained for 6 months with
6 months.
6 months.
Yeah, 6 months. I did nothing else. I worked with everybody there. I spent time living with Malini. We went out to watch a movie. So I saw how like a so-called disabled-friendly cinema, we call them in advance saying we have someone in a wheelchair. Yeah, it's disabled-friendly. You reach there, and yes, there's an elevator to go up and everything, but when you reach the actual auditorium, there's 3 steps. And for those 3 steps, this 40-year-old woman needs 3 men to carry her down, which is so humiliating and frustrating that she can't go to the cinema without having to be infantilized at some point. Similarly, we would go out and get drunk together. Now, people aren't used to seeing a disabled person get drunk, and like how people stare at that. So all of these aspects, I got to see, and then I also got to see the difference with disabled people abroad who have accessibility and what that does to their freedom, in terms of just being able to get everywhere without needing always a carer. Yeah.
So I recently watched the film My Left Foot. It again, like Daniel Day-Lewis played, and he got the Oscar for it. So it's similar to what you said. Basically, he got drunk and everything. So I was resonating with that.
Yeah.
And was there a moment during that process that stayed with you even after that film?
There's many things that stayed with me. One, though, is I am now the brand ambassador for Adapt. I think it's inextricably part of my life. They've practically adopted me.
Yeah.
I work a lot with the disabled community in India. And in terms of an actor, it just showed me the value of giving time to a process, which we get to do so often in theatre, but we don't often get to do in film. And it really made me understand how important muscle memory is for a good role, because ultimately, if you look at a tennis player, they're not thinking how they're going to shoot. It's muscle memory. They've been doing it so much that they know what to do next. And that's really what an actor needs to do in order to be a character fully, right? They need to have it in their muscles. They don't need to be thinking, I'm going to do it like this. So that's really valuable, to have that rehearsal time, that time to redo until it becomes part of your muscles.
Ma'am, I can do this all day. Like I can dissect your Margarita with a straw, but I really want to make the best of you and want to know so much more about your entire work. So if I look at your filmography from Dev.D to That Girl in Yellow Boots, Shanghai, Margarita with a Straw, and Goldfish, there's a clear pull towards layered and unconventional stories. Do these scripts find you, or are you actively seeking them out?
I think a bit of both. I think I have come from a background of theatre. I studied drama and theatre, and that it has already given me so much exposure to very layered characters. I worked with something like Lucrece, which is like the Rape of Lucrece is a Shakespearean poem about this woman. She is married to the king of the area, and a general rapes her, and how the society views that, how she comes to terms with that and defends herself and all of those things. So these kind of roles are so layered, and theatre exposes you to that, and so once you've had that, you kind of are greedy for more challenges.
Yes.
So I think I am greedy for challenges. I'm also practical. I want to keep working, so I do all kinds of strategic things as well to keep working. But I definitely think that the one thing that has helped me find that is theatre. Theatre has made me greedy.
Coming to Dev.D, I know that you didn't debut in that. It was a disruptive debut, but before that you have worked in I See You by Vivek Agarwal, and even you.
I had I was a student in London, I got 100 pounds for acting in IC.
It was what, extras or like
Extras. They were asking extras. So there was an Indian guy I knew in London who was like, hey, there's a Bollywood film. Arjun Rampal, I think, right? So
Arjun Rampal and Hrithik Roshan.
Yes, please, I'll take it. So,
and after that, Laga Chuneli Mein Daag, like you did announce
again an extra.
An extra again.
Yeah.
So, Dev.D, it was such a disruptive debut. Did you have second thoughts about starting your career with something so unconventional?
For me, it didn't seem so unconventional. It's a very famous story. Yes, okay, Anurag was reinterpreting it in this musical, in this modern light. But for me, it was like such a classic story. It's existed in Indian cinema and in literature for so long that it felt very like wonderful to be part of something so big which has already so much history. I was careful about not wanting to imitate any of the previous Chandramukhis, and that was something also that Anurag wanted me to steer clear of and just make this a very original character, which I think he's done with all the characters. But yeah, it's nice to have that legacy behind it. Yeah.
So before this, you were a struggling actor in Bombay, and you were looking for work, and you were a part of company theatre, if I'm not wrong, and then you had your own production, Little Productions. So how was like working in theatre and simultaneously going for auditions and all?
It was a weird life, yeah, because I would go for rehearsals which would be like 6 hours long, okay, and we would be working in some Bhavan's college or some place, and we'd be really sweaty and everything. And then I would in my bag have like one air hostess outfit or whatever the audition of the day was. Right, so then I would like quickly go to the wash basin and clean up and put on my air hostess costume and take a train and go to wherever for the audition. So it was like proper hardcore, but I loved it. I think because I had theatre in my life. I think for me, all this stuff was a side hustle, right?
Yeah.
I needed to make money. I did also like those tele shopping ads, whatever the job of the month would be. I'd get a gig in order to pay my rent, but those were not my focus. My focus was really the theatre. So that was nice to have that grounding.
So Adi Shakti is all about theatre, I guess, the practice and everything. Can you tell me more about Adi Shakti?
Yeah, Adi Shakti, I've been great admirers of their work and of Veena Bani Chawla, and at that time, when she was still alive, they had started these workshops. We did the first one. We were the guinea pigs.
2008. Right?
Yeah, 2008. So it was like a 2-week workshop, very hardcore, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., working very closely with all the navrasas and how to evoke them, again, through muscle memory.
Okay.
So not from I think the Stanislavskian way, which is like more like I will remember something sad and it becomes sad. No, this was really when I'm sad, what does my breathing do? What does my body do? When I'm angry, what does my body do? I hold my breath, I get stiff. So it was really working from the muscles of the body and evoking immediately, like whatever. If you do it for long enough, those tears come or that laughter comes or whatever. So working with the navrasas from that angle.
So that's basically outside in, right? Like there's internal to outside acting, and then there's outside and internal. So it's basically outside.
Yeah, and in drama school I worked the other way. I worked a lot with Stanislavski.
Emotional memory.
The idea of building a backstory and an emotional memory. And in practice, I think I need a combination of both. Depending on the time we have, where we're shooting. There's so many elements that come into play when you're actually shooting on set. So, but yeah, I think it's very useful to have both influences.
So it depends on like films you are doing. Like for me personally, Eric Morris helped me a lot. Like No Acting Please is one of his book, and over there the state of being, he says like just forget everything and just be in that moment. So that really, like I reflect that with that a lot. So is there a simple process for you, or it keeps on changing?
Now I've forgotten the name. Is it David Mamet who wrote? There's a book which is about acting, where basically he's like, learn your lines, know where the props are, know where your actors are, and that's it. Like, don't worry about the rest. React. Acting is just reacting. You take the energy from the person in front of you and you react, right? So that I really love that book. I can't remember the name. We have to look it up later. But I, again, for me, I think all of these things are. I think the bigger your toolbox, the more the richer you are, the more you're able to pull out of your toolbox. So in the beginning, learn as much as you can. Keep going to workshops. Keep trying. I did clowning workshops, mask workshops, body workshops, Buto workshops. I just did it all. Drumming workshops, percussions, because rhythm is also such a big part of acting. So all of these things, see them as a toolkit, and then and then obviously nothing replaces experience. The longer you do it, the easier certain things, you get to it much faster.
We focus a lot on underrated cinema here. Is there a project of yours, maybe a smaller indie or even theatre, that you feel has your best technical work but hasn't reached enough?
Lucrece, they have the NCPA is holding on to a recording of that play. And I'm like, guys, please put it on YouTube or something so people can watch it, because it's such a powerful play.
Is there on YouTube or something?
No, it's with the NCPA. Go knock on their door.
I'll definitely
and knock on their door and say, listen, this is a national treasure. We must put it out.
Yes. Definitely do that.
Yeah, it's really like. It was really a beautiful piece, and it only ran for about 2 weeks. And it was full. We had great audiences, but there's only so many people that can watch in the experiment. It was in the experimental theater, small 200-seater. Yeah.
Do you rely more on imagination in those situations? Also, as cinema becomes more technical, do you feel actors today need to understand aspects like editing, sound design, and framing?
Okay, so imagination in theater, you mean?
Theater in general, like.
I feel like theater is all about imagination. And the more you go wild with your imagination, there are no boundaries in theater in that sense, right? It's not so interesting to see a realistic actor on stage. It's much more interesting to see that actor become a mythical creature or something. But in film, it's realism. And for film, I feel like I have to have very set boundaries of who this person is, that character is. And I suspend reality in that time. I believe that is who I am, right? So when the camera is ready and the shot is about to go, this character has really, lost something, or I don't try to, let's say, put myself in that situation. I am not me. Does that make sense? So there's a sort of a very specific character, and I'm that character, and I am not myself.
So what do you suggest to the coming actors? Should they be trained in direction, editing, and everything? Like, coming from whistling woods, there was a 6-month course, like in our process. 6 months we were dedicated to filmmaking basically. We were there on sets, we were doing editing work. So
I think you have to ask yourself the question of why you're doing this. For me, acting is a form of expression. It's art. It's a reason to make sense out of this life. So in that case, all of these forms are important. Editing, music, directing, they all help form a language which helps express something. So if you can learn it for that, great. If you're interested in just being an actor, to become like famous or to sort of be a hero, I don't think you need to learn all the other aspects. You just need to go there, look good, make sure you work out, drink well, sleep well, and obviously perform, dig into your emotions. But I don't think you need to know the technical aspects of everything else.
Personally,
that's more like to understand the whole world and language.
Like for me, producing helps. Like I try to like look for scripts and all. Like I try to produce basically these days. So I'm trying, like there's a new aspect apart from acting as well. Like that's where my next approach is.
Right.
Yeah.
Also because there's so much unemployment
Right.
that you need, you need to find a way to make it happen.
You co-wrote the That Girl in Yellow Boots, which is such an unconventional film again. Since you were both writing and acting, did playing Ruth feel more controlled or more vulnerable?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think it was quite vulnerable because you you've seen this character from the outside when you're writing it, but it's not the same character once you become it. I don't know, like you become less in control. When you're the writer, you're in control of the character. You decide what the character is going to do. But when you're the actor, you almost can't know what the character is going to do next. Otherwise, it becomes predictable. You have to be in the moment. So that was quite difficult, I think. And at some point, I had to just like surrender because we were also changing things. And I was like, I can't be part of the writing process anymore. And very much letting Anurag do that as he did as a director.
So initially it was you who wrote it and then Anurag sir came later, or like how was it?
Yeah, I wrote it first, and then he definitely didn't like my ending. Changed my whole ending. Yeah, I think we come from very different philosophical approaches. Like for him, there's a sort of darkness and a sort of a depth of hope, and for me, there's always the sense that life is a cycle, and there's always new life that forms. So even when one thing is died, another comes out. That's how. So I think that philosophical approach, we were like, no, we will never agree. And of course, because he's the director, he chose the sort of hopeless ending. But yeah, it was definitely his movie once we started, going on the tour and stuff.
In your recent horror series there, a lot of atmosphere is built later through sound and VFX. How do you keep your performance grounded when the fear or tension isn't physically present on set?
Yeah, it requires a lot of imagination, and it's quite exhausting because you have to imagine everything, right? You have to imagine the ghosts, the energies, the fear. And what that does is it really takes a toll on your nervous system because you're like in a state of panic most of the time. You're hyperventilating a lot, and it's very tiring. And so whenever I would finish a day of shoot, I would need to like watch some Ricky Gervais or do a little silly dance, whatever. Like go and have a drink with friends, just something completely
switch off,
and just let your body like relax a bit. Because it was so much of this all the time. Yeah.
So I would love to share an instance like while watching the series, in episode 5 you were researching about Gaurav Tiwari, like Erin was researching. So
yes.
I felt that I am Erin and you are my Gaurav Tiwari, where I was researching and just like I was thinking what this podcast gonna be and everything. So I could relate to Erin that time.
Yeah.
Do you enjoy the process of self-discovery?
Yes. I love discovering that I have something inside me that I didn't know I had. For example, I'm not somebody who shows my anger very well. I think a lot of women are taught not to show anger. Like we have to be polite and all that stuff. So I grew up like that, and I never could be angry. It was very like passive aggressive. I'd just be like, yeah, I'm fine. It's fine. So I remember discovering and unlocking anger in like a workshop, and just the liberation of being able to like scream and shout and really be nasty was so nice. And I was like, my God, don't we all need some, like acting is therapy, like we should all be doing it, just to like unlock these emotions.
Do you see yourself eventually moving more towards writing and directing? During lockdown also you wrote a book.
I did. I wrote Elephant in the Womb. Please read it, guys. It's a lot of fun. And yeah, it's definitely, writing has always been a part of my process. I write my own monologues and I write the theatre. Whether I'll go into directing is a good question. I feel like I definitely would like to write an entire feature or make make something. Whether I am capable is my question. To direct at this point in my career, I don't know. I just feel like a director has to know so many different aspects. They have to also let go of control, because there are so many different people that you rely on to make it work. I don't know. As an actor, I'm a control freak. Everything is minute. Every detail is in my hands. So that, for me, letting go of control. I've done it once for theatre. I've directed for theatre. I had 4 actors, and those actors were a nightmare. I was like, my God, how do people direct me? I mean, it's a nightmare. Each one, it's like they each have special needs, and each of them need individual attention. And you have to entertain it while you know that you will not use any of that, because you need to bring them all to the same world, and they all come from different worlds. So it's a very challenging process. I did enjoy it. I had a great time doing this play called The Living Room, but I think I'm not ready for film directing yet. Maybe in like 10 years.
10 years.
That in my long life is a short time. For you, it's like half your life.
Do you already think visually when you write? If you were to direct a film tomorrow, what kind of story would it be?
I mean, it's so many. I think I would start with something to do with motherhood, because it's so exciting to me being a mother, and something to do with generations, and how we pass on different things and trauma, but also positive things, resilience. All these things for me, I guess, are really interesting. But I don't want to be one of these filmmakers who has no sense of humor. So I would want it to be like comic as well, dark comedy maybe. That's what I'd like to do.
And do you think visually when you write?
Yes. And in theatre, so very much so. I'm right now devising and creating a play. And thinking a lot of the imagery is coming very clearly.
And I think for your own book also, you must be getting the
Yes,
visuals.
I mean the book is a comic book, so I thought of it in terms of the visuals, the body, the fetus, all these things. My vagina has a personality, and she's changing through the process of motherhood. So all these things are very visual for me. And it really helps, I think, because these are things we don't talk about. And we think it's so taboo to talk about a vagina or about boobs, and it becomes sexualized also. But if you draw it as a comic, then suddenly they become little people. And they're funny and cute, and you can talk about these things in a much more freeing way. So
Do you think that sense of openness reflect in your choices today?
I guess it must have. Of course, all our surroundings shape us, whether we are conscious of it or not. Growing up in Auroville, in a small village called Periyamudalya, speaking Tamil with my nanny, French at home, English in school. I went to a very Christian boarding school, but my parents were, Aurobindo devotees. So I had like so many different aspects whirling in that I did find that I was able to quickly, I was like a chameleon. I was able to quickly adjust to where I was. I was the goody two shoes in school, at home, whatever. My mother is like screaming in French, and like every aspect you would adjust to, which I think we all tweak and do. But mine were quite extreme.
How did boarding school? You went to a boarding school in Ooty somewhere. How did that like? How many years you went in boarding school?
I was in boarding school from the age of 6 to 18.
6 to 18.
Yeah, like my whole life. Yeah. It was really my home in so many ways. Boarding school taught me a lot about community, living in a group. Maybe that's why I love theatre so much, because you live in a group, you create things together. After lights out, we would tell each other horror stories in the dark. There's a sense of cooking together. So I had that sense of community from a young age. I loved it. It was not always easy being away from home, being away from parents, but I think it was in my case a very good thing because my parents were so like all over the place that it was like a solid grounding.
I was there in a boarding too, so I can very much reflect.
Yeah.
Yeah. When did storytelling first become important in your life?
Again, probably in boarding school.
Boarding school.
You know, all these stories we used to tell each other in the dark. And then we did a lot of theatre, and we used to have like a drama festival. And I did, you know, I remember doing really fun plays during that time.
And finally, if you could sit down with your 20-year-old self today, what truths about life or art would you want to share with her?
Like, I think one of the things is, you know, when you're younger, you really want to blend in. And now it's obviously differences that have made me stand out and have an opportunity like I've had. So I think hold on to your differences, hold on to what makes you different, and hold on to dualities, to multiplicities. Like, you don't have to be just this or just that. You can be so many things at the same time. Yeah.
So we would like to take 3 to 4 questions from the audience. So if you have anything.
Yes.
If you get a chance to work only in one thing for the rest of your life, what would it be? Theatre or film?
Do I get paid?
In theatres you get that pocket money, and in films you get the actual amount.
You know, I actually really dreamed of, like, I still dream of working with like an amazing theatre group like Complicité, where you do have a stable salary, but you travel the world and you do theatre all your life.
Right.
I mean, that is my dream. And if I got that opportunity, I think I would jump right in.
Theatre.
But I don't think right now, as I see it, I can sustain myself from theatre. I produce my own plays. I'm producing one now, and even with funding, we're just going to break even after paying everyone. So yeah.
So is that going to be in India?
Yes, we're opening in Bombay and then Delhi. It's this Adyam festival.
Yeah.
So we're we're going to be opening. There'll be shows in NCPA, Kamani. Yeah, we will start talking about it when it's ready.
Yes.
Yeah, so I have a question. So I've been scrolling through the internet for a while, and they have found its
We all have. It's a big
Yeah.
problem.
So they have found their way back to Zindagi Na Milegi Dobara with your character. No, earlier they used to be like, why they used to point out Natasha as a problem because we were seeing it from the point of view of the guys. But now the internet thinks that her reaction was valid on every point.
Right.
So while making the film, what was your perspective on that aspect? Like, did you see her as a problem as well, and how do you see her now?
You know, that someone told me something kind of similar, that she grew up watching Zindagi when she was younger. And when she was younger, she thought that Natasha was a complete bitch. But as she grew older and she got married, and like 10 years later, she actually appreciated her boundaries and her wanting something out of the relationship or whatever. So she was like, I really matured and saw the other side of what it is. I'm more like Natasha now. So I think that's the beauty of a well-written character, that even if it is a problematic character, which I think she is, she does need therapy, but also that she is human and that she has certain desires and that she has a certain upbringing that she comes with. We all do. I feel like you can't really hate a person much once you really know where they come from. No matter how different and how horrible, and that doesn't mean you excuse their horribleness, but you can't hate them on a personal level once you know where they've come from and what their background is and how they grew up and everything. So that for me is very valuable as an actor and when looking at characters, that how do I make this person real and human, even if they are absolutely ridiculous.
I just have a follow-up to that question, if you don't mind. So in Bollywood, there are a lot of such stereotypes that happen, where the characters should be morally grey, but then we put them in the far white or the far black end of things, and then we set out a narrative. which
Yeah.
like if they were considered more human, then we would be more accepting towards the flaws, and that would send out a positive message. But if we backtrace it, that's not what happens usually. So what do you think on that?
Yeah, you're right. There's a lot of stereotyping in Bollywood. Yeah, there is, and I think that's the big job of like writers to try and break those stereotypes, to give edges to characters. Even if they are going to be a heroic character, when can they be vulnerable? If they're going to be a negative character, when can you actually care for them? I recently I just finished a show called Unearthed, which is a horror, but at some point you feel for the demon. And I thought that was such brilliant writing. That yes, okay, the demon is all powerful, the demon destroys, the demon is evil, but then there are moments where you're like, how did this demon become a demon? What is the demon's background? You know.
So, first of all, love your work. And secondly, so being directed by both men and women, I wanted to ask you, of course, barring the fact that the scripts are very different, but personally working with female directors, is there more nuances that you relate to as compared to being directed by a man? Or, I mean, I just want to understand.
It's tricky because in many cases, yes, I would say the female directors in my life are very specific, very detailed. Plus, there's a sort of ease, especially with Margarita, with the straw. My DOP was a woman, and my director. Thank God, because the things I had to do, and that was very exposing, literally and figuratively. So I could feel much more safe in that environment. There was, of course, a locked set, and nobody was allowed in. But there was a moment, for example, which I'll tell you is very funny, where Laila has had sex with that boy, and she's lying there, and the director and the DOP were whispering to each other. And I was like, guys, this is very distracting, I can't perform. So they were like, yeah, we just noticed that your nipples are a bit too pink. We're just going to send the makeup artist in. And my makeup artist, she comes in, like, painting my nipples a little down, and she's like, I did not sign up for this. So you have these moments which I feel like if I didn't feel completely safe, I would never obviously open up to be able to do. So there's obviously that. The other thing, but on the other hand, I have to say, on the experience of Goldfish, that was a male director, Pushan Kruplani. I had just had Sappho, she was 1.5, and I'd been in lockdown, so I hadn't really been working, and we went into second lockdown. We were in London. I couldn't take my nanny. I mean, there was all these complications, and I was very vulnerable being a new mother. And I was like, how do I do this? How do I shoot for 8 hours a day and 10 hours a day when I have a little child and all? And he was so amazing. Like, he reworked the entire set. He said, we're not going to do night shoots. Forget night shoots. Because she wakes up at 6 a.m. every day, needs me. So forget night shoots. We're just going to figure out a way to shoot night and day. It's London. London is, the sunlight till summertime till 10 p.m. We'll figure it out. So, the way that he worked around me, I was like, my God, you're a woman. So I don't think you can stereotype all men and women like that, but definitely there are certain aspects which do make it easier, yeah.
Can you share what you had in mind for the ending of Yellow Boots?
Yeah, I had so basically there was a parallel track where Ruth is looking for her father in this new strange country. But there's this boy who's like a street child urchin who's keeps coming to clean her outside her house, whatever. And slowly he inches his way in because he's like foreigner hai, wo kuch bhi karenge. Yeah. So slowly she also starts letting him in and gives him chai. Then after a while she gives him biscuits. So slowly he's inched his way into her life. So by the end, while she's discovering this terrible thing about her father, she's also made this amazing friendship with this little boy.
Okay.
So it was like there's a chance of a new life beginning here.
Alright. So
Yeah.
that was the hope that.
There was a parallel track of this, that yes, this has been killed, this
Right.
hope has been like stubbed out, but there's another light that's come up.
Last question.
I wanted to ask you, how should a writer approach writing a problematic woman's character who wears her sexuality on her sleeve, someone like Fleabag in the Indian context? Are we ready for it?
Oh wow, I would love to do a version of Fleabag here. I'm
You're the
also
only one
ready
who
for
can,
it.
actually. You're the only person who can.
Yeah, please somebody write that. No, I don't. I think I think we're ready for anything. I just think we infantilize our audience again. Like, look at Margarita with the store. Everybody told me I was crazy to do that film, but everybody loved. I mean, so many, not everybody. A lot of people love that film. So I think we have to trust that if we recognize it, others will recognize it. If you have conviction, other people will also find that conviction.
Ma'am, that was really insightful. Thank you. I know that if time wasn't a factor, we would love to know more and so much more about you. Your commitment to the unconventional is exactly what we celebrate at the Reborn India Film Festival. Thank you for sharing your process with such honesty. It genuinely means a lot to filmmakers who take their craft seriously. That was Kalki Koechlin. A special thank you once again to NFTC and Film Critics Guild for standing with us and with the filmmakers in the audience. Keep pushing the boundaries of your frame. Until next time, this is Siddhant Lohia. See you in the next episode.